right, everyone, get ready for this. We are diving deep into a figure that's caused a ton of debate and, honestly, just plain fascination. Lucifer.
It's going to be an interesting one, that's for sure.
We've got some biblical text to work with and some other interesting sources, too. Our goal, trace his journey, how he went from, get this, Lightbringer,
Oh, yeah.
to the fallen angel we now know as Satan.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, we're going to touch on how other traditions view him, too. Not just the Christian one. It's going to be pretty wild.
Absolutely. This figure of Lucifer he's captivated people for centuries. His story, gives us so much to think about. Symbolism, interpretations. It's a really rich tapestry.
Okay, so let's rewind all the way back. Before the fall from grace,
Right.
who was Lucifer?
Right.
I mean, even the name Lucifer, it means light bringer. It's almost ironic.
It is a pretty stark contrast, yeah. And that contrast is, I think, right at the heart of understanding why his story is so powerful. See, before the fall, Lucifer was considered this being of extraordinary radiance and power. But we have to understand he wasn't just any angel. No. He was a guardian cherub.
A guardian cherub. Okay, what does that even mean? Was that a big deal?
Oh, huge deal. They were considered the highest order of angels. Think about it. Closest to God. They were entrusted with huge responsibilities.
Makes sense.
And we actually get a glimpse of Lucifer's, I guess you could call it, former glory. It's in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 28, verses 12 through 19.
Oh, wow. Specific.
It describes him, he had breathtaking beauty, profound wisdom.
Okay, get in the picture.
And even musical talent.
Wait, hold on. Musical talent. So are we talking angelic choirs here, or was Lucifer, shredding on some ancient harp? What's going on?
Well, the text doesn't quite give us that level of detail.
Okay.
But the point is, they wanted to emphasize just how multifaceted he was. He wasn't just powerful. No, he was creative, skilled. He had, immense potential. And that just makes his fall all the more dramatic, don't you think? It really gets you thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. If that guy could fall, what does it say about the rest of us, right? But you mentioned the fall. How does someone go from basically being God's right-hand angel to, Satan? I mean, what happened?
Well, the traditional interpretation is pride.
Pride.
And not just any pride. We're talking an ego of, cosmic proportions. Lucifer was already so close to God, as close as an angel could be, and yet he wanted more.
He wanted more.
Oh, yeah. He craved power, envied God, envied his supremacy. And ultimately, he wanted to be, and I'm sure you can guess, like the Most High.
So kind of a recurring theme here. Ambition, power, pushing the boundaries. Sounds a little too familiar, huh?
Right. And that's why it's still so relevant, Lucifer's story. It's timeless, really. I mean, these are human struggles. Take a look at Isaiah chapter 14, verses 13 and 14. We actually hear Lucifer's own words.
Oh, wow.
He says, I will ascend to the heavens. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will make myself like the Most High. Chilling stuff, isn't it?
That is a pretty bold statement. Talk about aiming high and failing spectacularly. But wait, this wasn't just Lucifer, having a personal vendetta against God.
Right.
Didn't he bring others down with him?
You got it. It wasn't just him. Lucifer's, his pride and ambition, it was like a virus, very contagious. He managed to persuade a lot of the other angels to join his rebellion.
So it was a full-on, angelic civil war. Man, that's intense. What happened after that?
Well, if you look at the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verses 7 through 9, it describes this huge cosmic battle. Good versus evil, the classic. The archangel Michael leads the loyal angels against Lucifer and his followers. And, spoiler alert, Lucifer loses. He's defeated and kicked out of heaven.
And that's where we get the big transformation, right? From radiant Lucifer to Satan, the adversary. It's like his name literally changed with his destiny.
You got it. That shift, it shows us how complete his fall was, from Lightbringer to, a symbol of darkness, rebellion, evil. But here's where things get really interesting. You see, the Bible, it doesn't tell the story in one neat little package. Right.
It's pieced together from all these different texts, which has led to some pretty wild interpretations over time.
Oh, I bet. So even within Christianity, there's more than one way to see Lucifer. It's not just the, classic devil image.
Absolutely. And it goes even beyond Christianity, too. There's evidence that ancient cultures, even before Christianity, had myths about rebellious gods who challenged the way things were. It kind of suggests that this whole rebellious god archetype, it might be much older and way more universal than we usually think.
Wow. So this idea of a god rebelling, it's deep in human storytelling. That's super fascinating. But you mentioned different interpretations within Christianity. Can you give me an example? Like, what else is there?
Okay, one that's pretty striking is the Gnostic view of Lucifer.
Gnostic.
Gnosticism was this early Christian movement, but their beliefs were pretty different from mainstream Christianity. Now, for Gnostics, Lucifer, he wasn't simply evil. He was a bringer of knowledge. Hold up, wait. So instead of being the bad guy, he's the one who enlightens humanity. That is a serious plot twist. What was their logic there? Why did they see him that way?
They saw Lucifer as a liberator, this figure who dared to question a god they saw as tyrannical. And by doing that, he awakened human consciousness.
Whoa.
They believed that true knowledge was forbidden by this god, and that what Lucifer did, his rebellion, it was actually a brave attempt to free humanity from ignorance.
I'm trying to wrap my head around that. It's definitely not the Sunday school version I'm used to.
Right. It makes you question that whole good versus evil thing, you know? Adds a whole layer of complexity to Lucifer's story.
Okay, yeah, my mind is officially blown.
Yeah.
But now I'm really curious. How did these different interpretations, especially this idea of Lucifer as like a complex figure, how did that get into our modern understanding of him?
That's where literature and art come in. Think about John Milton's Paradise Lost, that epic poem, you know.
Yeah.
He gave us that line, better to reign in hell than serve in heaven.
Oh, that's right. That line's iconic. And, it almost makes you, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but it almost makes you sympathize with Lucifer. Just a tiny bit.
Right, and that's exactly what Milton did. He didn't show Lucifer as just a bad guy, but as a complex figure, maybe even tragic, driven by a desire for freedom, to make his own choices, even if it meant going against God.
So even Satan gets a more nuanced portrayal. That's amazing how one figure can lead to so many different takes across cultures, across time.
It shows how powerful this myth is.
Mm-hmm.
And the questions it brings up about us, our desires, and the choices we make really makes you think.
Okay, before we get even deeper into all that, let's recap what we've learned so far.
Yeah, good idea.
About Lucifer. So we know he started as this glorious, high-ranking angel.
Yeah.
Beautiful, wise.
Right, almost perfect until
His pride and ambition, those very human flaws, led him to want power equal to God's.
Led to his rebellion and his big fall from grace.
And what's crazy is the story doesn't end there. We've got all these different interpretations of Lucifer's fall. Everything from pure evil to, get this, a knowledge bringer. It blows my mind how one figure can spark so many different takes.
We've only just scratched the surface.
Oh man, we'll be exploring all this even more in our next part.
All right, deep divers, hang tight. We're just getting started on this wild ride. See you in part 2.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the, well, you could say, the captivating figure of Lucifer.
We've already uncovered a lot, haven't we?
Yeah.
His origins that fall from grace and those honestly kind of surprising interpretations. But there's one question I keep coming back to. Why does Lucifer's story, why does it still resonate with us today? Like thousands of years later, we're still fascinated by this fallen angel. What is it about him?
That is a question that really cuts to the core of what myths and archetypes can tell us about ourselves.
Yeah, okay. Think about it. Lucifer, he embodies this primal desire for power, that urge to challenge, to question authority, even, that thirst for knowledge, the kind that might be off limits, forbidden. These things, they've been playing out through history forever.
It's true.
And they're still so alive in our world today.
So are you saying there's like a little bit of Lucifer in all of us? That's a scary thought.
Yeah.
How can we even relate to, the guy who's supposed to be evil incarnate?
Maybe not literally, but the themes his story brings up. Those are deeply, deeply human.
Okay.
We all struggle with ambition, with temptation, with wanting to push the limits. Look at how many stories there are, from like Greek mythology to Shakespeare, right?
Yeah.
They all have these characters who want too much, who crave power or knowledge, the kind that's ultimately dangerous.
Yeah. It's true.
Those stories, they tap into something fundamental about us.
It's kind of like looking in a mirror and not liking what you see, right? Like seeing those darker impulses. But there's also this, something alluring about Lucifer.
Yeah, definitely.
Even his name, Lucifer. It sounds kind of seductive, doesn't it?
Exactly. And that's where his story becomes more than just some lesson about good and bad. He's not just a villain to scare us.
Right.
He's someone who makes us ask questions,
Yeah.
To look at our own relationship with power, with authority. He's like the symbol of rebellion.
I get it.
The temptation to go against the grain, even if it means a huge cost.
And let's be real. Pop culture loves Lucifer. We've got TV shows, movies, books. He's basically a celebrity. And these portrayals, they don't usually stick to the simple good guy, bad guy thing.
Not at all. They dive into his reasons, his inner struggles. I mean, there's even a show called Lucifer.
Yeah.
He's this charming, charismatic guy trying to figure himself out, seeking some kind of redemption, or take the graphic novel The Sandman.
Yeah.
Lucifer there is complex, even sympathetic in a way, grappling with the choices he made. These new interpretations, they show us that more human, even vulnerable side of this, so-called fallen angel.
Which makes him kind of relatable, right?
Sure.
Even though we never want to end up like him.
Exactly. It's a real paradox. We're drawn to him because his story mirrors our own struggles. With temptation, with wanting freedom to choose who we are, even if it has a price.
Right. Makes you think.
His fall, it's like a warning about what happens when pride takes over, about how seductive power can be. But it also makes us look inside ourselves and ask, are we capable of that darkness too? And that light.
It feels like we're fascinated by the idea of rebelling, even though we know it's dangerous.
It's true.
But it's more than just entertainment. It's like we need to understand what drives us, both as individuals and as a society.
Exactly. And that's why Lucifer, he stays so relevant. He's compelling because his story makes us confront the darker parts of being human. But it also reminds us that even in transgression, even when someone messes up big time, there can be layers to it.
There's nuance.
We can try to understand. There can even be empathy to a degree.
That's a lot to process.
It's a story that challenges us to look inward, to wrestle with these age-old questions. Good, evil, free will, fate. The consequences of what we choose.
Wow. You really nailed it there. I think it's that tension, that push and pull between good and evil, light and dark. That's what makes him so captivating. He embodies this duality, the one that's inside all of us, He represents what's possible, both the incredible good and the terrible destruction that's in every human heart.
Powerful stuff.
And maybe that's why, centuries later, his story still grabs us. Because deep down, we see a piece of ourselves in him, in this fallen angel.
And then we have to deal with what that
It is a little sobering, isn't it?
could be.
But it's also a good reminder that we have to understand our capacity for both good and bad. If we want to navigate this crazy thing called life, it's about seeing that the line between light and dark, it's not always so clear.
Right.
And even in figures like Lucifer, there's shades of gray.
Yeah.
It makes us question what we think we know.
You said it. And maybe that's what makes exploring these myths and archetypes so important.
I think so.
They're like a lens.
Yeah.
We can look at ourselves through it. Our society, those struggles that never seem to go away, the ones that define what it means to be human.
I like that.
Yeah.
So as we move toward the last part of our deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a question.
Okay.
What other figures in history, in mythology, do they embody this same struggle? With power, ambition, with wanting knowledge? Are there other Lucifers out there walking among us whose stories can, shine a light on the path ahead?
It's a great question.
Show us what to avoid, but also what we could achieve.
It's a question we'll dig into even more in our next part. Stay with us as we explore what Lucifer's story really means for us, for our relationship with power, knowledge, that eternal dance between light and dark.
All right, deep divers, welcome back. We've really gone deep, haven't we?
We have.
Through Lucifer's whole story.
Yeah.
Where he came from, that dramatic fall, and all those interpretations. Wow.
It's fascinating stuff.
But now, I think it's time to zoom out a bit.
Okay.
What can we, here in the 21st century, actually take away from this ancient story? What does it say about us?
Yeah.
About how humanity deals with things like power, knowledge, even good and evil. Big stuff.
It's a really good question.
Yeah. It's easy to get caught up in the whole biblical narrative, but I'm thinking, what are the lasting lessons? The ones that still apply to us today?
It's definitely something to think about. I mean, this fascination with Lucifer, it's been around for so long.
It really have.
His rebellion, that desire for knowledge, does it reflect something, fundamental about humans?
Like it's built into us.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Is there a part of us, in each of us, that connects with his ambition? That wanting to go beyond the limits, whatever those limits are?
When put it like that, it's kind of like we do see ourselves in him, even if it's a little unnerving.
Yeah, a bit.
We all have ambitions, things we want that drive to learn, to explore, even if it means, breaking the rules a bit.
Absolutely. And I think that's where the real value of Lucifer's story is. It's not just some simple warning about getting too big for your britches.
It's more than that.
It's also a reminder that even in rebellion, even in what people call evil, there can be more to the story.
Layers, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm. Nuances, a yearning for something more, something different.
So it's not about, like, squashing our ambitions, our curiosity.
No. Yeah.
But about understanding the risks of too much pride and using what we know, our power, in a responsible way.
Exactly. Don't forget, Lucifer, before all this, he was all about light and knowledge. That was him.
It was.
But it was his way of chasing those things, going about it the wrong way. That's what got him in trouble. It shows us that even good things, noble goals, they can go bad if we don't have a strong moral compass.
It's like that saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Lucifer, wanting to be like God, like the Most High, maybe it wasn't all bad intentions, but he had a messed up idea of what he could be.
Yeah. And that's what makes it so tragic, so human, so relatable. He shows us that part of ourselves that wants to be great, that wants to know everything, have power. But it's so easy to get lost, get sidetracked by pride, by wanting more than what we're given.
Thinking about it like that makes his story even more powerful.
Definitely.
It's not just good versus bad. It's about what it means to be human, trying to balance ambition with humility, remembering that ethics matter when we chase knowledge and power.
You got it.
It's powerful stuff. So as we wrap up this deep dive, one final thought for everyone listening. What other figures throughout history in mythology do they embody this same struggle?
Ooh, good one.
Power, ambition, that thirst for knowledge. Are there other Lucifers out there in the world today, in our own lives, whose stories can show us the way where the pitfalls are and the incredible things we could achieve?
It's about looking for those shades of gray in ourselves, in everyone. Maybe that's what we should take away from all this. Not just searching for heroes and villains, but understanding the complexities, the mix of light and dark in all of us.
It is something to think about, isn't it?
It is.
That's what makes it so fascinating. So thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of Lucifer.
It's been a pleasure.
Keep exploring, keep asking questions, keep diving deep, everyone.